Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name's Don Arleth, and you're watching World News, coming to you live from Warsaw. U.S. President Donald Trump warns of severe consequences for Russia if Putin continues to block peace in Ukraine during the Alaska meeting. European leaders are intensifying their efforts to convince Trump not to allow Russia to redraw Ukrainian borders. The diplomatic efforts continue as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London today. Donald Trump says that Vladimir Putin is going to face severe consequences if he doesn't agree to end the war in Ukraine during Friday's meeting in Alaska. Trump also said that a second meeting with Putin may follow if the first one goes well. His comments followed a conversation with European leaders who are appealing to Trump to not let Russia change Ukraine's borders by force. The U.S. president assured his partners that his priority is to achieve a ceasefire and that he wouldn't make it territorial concessions to Russia without Ukraine's involvement. According to the report by Politico, Trump told European leaders that the U.S. could provide Ukraine with security guarantees. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said more is at stake in Alaska than just Ukraine, noting that Russia would like the U.S. to agree to reduce the number of its military personnel in Poland. With Friday's high-level talks between Trump and Putin fast approaching, speculation continues to swirl around the meeting's possible outcome. In an interview for TVP World with Małgorzata Zawadzka, a former Polish media correspondent in the United States, she gave her take on the expectations ahead of the Alaska summit and explained why she thinks the meeting can actually go better than expected.
Trump not to make a fool of himself and not to make a fool of America, the way he did in Helsinki. I'm sorry for this harsh language, but of course half of America is saying that that he has a weak spot for Vladimir Putin. Of course, his latest talks, his latest opinions about Putin indicated that maybe he's run out of attention. His idealistic view of Vladimir Putin as his friend and someone he could actually make a deal is, the reality is showing that Putin is someone he has completely no idea what is in his head. So right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. It's not that I'm really scared. I'm actually cautiously optimistic because of what happened in Europe and actually in Europe for the last, since, Donald Trump threw out Zelensky from White House, right? Europe really stood behind Zelensky. Europe kind of awakened, started to rearm itself. We have this, additional budget of close to 800 million euros. So with all of it, the meeting between Trump and Putin can actually go much better for Europe than it would have has it happened like 6 months ago.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki is now meeting with Prime Minister Donald Tusk at the presidential palace. The meeting is taking place at the request of the Prime Minister. Our reporter Sonia Biszczan is at the presidential palace. Good afternoon there, Sonia. So can you tell us what is the reason behind this meeting and what issues will these two political rivals discuss?
Hello, Don. According to the spokesperson of the President's office, we are expecting this meeting between the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and the Polish President Karol Nawrocki to focus on the situation in Ukraine and, quote, other international issues. This meeting is taking place in a specific point in time, namely it is happening against the backdrop of the Wednesday conference calls between European and U.S. leaders, but also ahead of the Alaska Friday meeting between the U.S. President Donald Trump with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And all of these conversations are also pertaining to the situation in Ukraine. Interestingly enough, yesterday during the Wednesday conference calls with the European leaders, with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, it was the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk who represented the country. And frankly, this is the face that we've been used to seeing in these types of meetings. But in the subsequent conference call with the U.S. President Donald Trump and the Vice President J.D. Vance, it was Karol Nawrocki, the Polish president, who represented Poland. Tusk commented on the situation and said that even though constitutionally it is the government that deals with foreign policy or represents the country with respect to foreign policy, at the request of the American side, which traditionally prefers diplomacy to be conducted on the presidential level, it was eventually Karol Nawrocki that represented Poland. However, we are also receiving the information from the president's office, from the spokesperson, who said that the government and the president's office have to coordinate on foreign policy. And frankly, this is the same sentiment that we've heard from Donald Tusk on Thursday, who said that, quote, we must act together. As the situation pertaining to Ukraine, these discussions on Ukraine are also surrounding Poland's and European security. Back to you.
Okay, Sonia Gachata-Biszczan reporting there from the presidential palace in Warsaw. Russia has intensified ground assaults near Pokrovsk and Dobropilia, with Ukraine reporting 118 clashes in the past 24 hours, 40 of them being in the Donbass. Kyiv has sent reinforcements to the region to rout out the Russians that broke through the defense lines on Tuesday. Ukraine's general staff says additional units have been deployed to counter small Russian assault and sabotage groups attempting to breach the front line. Military analysts warn that if Russia secures positions in the area, Dobropilia could be directly threatened. It is also being said that the danger has eased with no further Russian advances after the initial breakthrough. The Union news agency reports that Moscow is pushing forward ahead of President Vladimir Putin's meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, seeking battlefield gains before tomorrow's talks. Ukrainian forces launched a drone attack on the Russian city of Belgorod. One of the UAVs hit a passenger car, injuring 3 people, as reported by local authorities. Local CCTV captured the moment the drone struck the vehicle. The footage shows an explosion and debris scattering across the road as the car burns. Belgorod's regional governor took to Telegram to report the attack. He also ordered all public events in the town to be canceled until the end of the week. Reportedly, local parks and shopping centers will also be closed. Latvia's new ambassador to Ukraine, Andrijs Pidgovics, states that while expectations are low for the upcoming Trump-Putin meeting, the United States holds unmatched leverage over Moscow that could influence future geopolitical dynamics.
For my part, I have no doubt that the United States is probably the only country with such a broad set of tools to put pressure on Russia. No other country has such a range. Not the European Union, not China, nor other states. I think President Trump is trying to cultivate his own diplomatic style. He is trying to use a wide sanctions toolkit. In our view, sanctions against Russia should be continued. In our view, the 19th sanctions package should also be prepared by the European Union member states.
Peter Magyar, chairman of Hungary's opposition party, has denounced a claim by Russian intelligence that he is backed by the European Union, calling it blatant election interference and disinformation. The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service has alleged the European Union is working to bring Peter Magyar to power in Hungary, possibly as early as the spring 2026 elections, a claim Hungarian public media published without alteration. In response, Magyar underlined that his TISA party, his battle against the Fidesz party, is in the name of an independent Hungary, while the party itself rejected the Russian statement as obvious disinformation. Europe is battling devastating fires as an intense heat wave moves through the continent, with local residents and tourists alike fighting for their basic survival, but also to save their livelihoods.
This may look like winter arrived in Greece, but the reality is a hell of a lot worse. This is what's left behind after a devastating fire, and it's the new reality all over Europe. Many people risk their lives trying to salvage their homes and belongings, sometimes getting saved in return.
I was using everything to keep the flames out. For example, to fight the smoke. This napkin saved my life. I put some water on it, but it stayed more wet with sweat. This napkin saved my life.
Too many material things are perishable. The lives of their loved ones are what matters most.
My husband fought hard with the flames, but I am so happy that my husband is alive. I don't want to know about what we lost. I will work to recreate it again. The only victory we had is that my husband is alive.
Even tourists are painfully aware of the dire future awaiting their holidays.
Well, it's quite impressive. We're in between two fires. It's been going on for several days. It's going to surround us. There are woods all around us, so we're thinking it's going to burn rapidly.
Many people lost their workplaces.
It holds memories, because I enjoyed working in this kitchen. It was like my hobby, both at home and here. It was my hobby.
Others feel neglected by the fire brigades.
There was no trace of the fire brigade up here. Okay, I get it, they focused on the villages. It makes sense. But we are also part of the village. We are the last house of Patras.
Fire brigades all around the continent are hard at work managing and putting the fires out. But at times, the blaze is just too much.
We're putting out what the fire brigades aren't putting out, or what they don't have time to put out because there are several fires. It's complicated for them to extinguish the fire because there are several active fires in different towns. It's getting more complicated for them.
Scientists and experts around the world warn that these are the direct effects of climate change, and they are not projected to ease. Instead, the old continent has to brace itself for more devastating heat waves to come, one after another.
And that's all the time we have here on World News. Thanks for watching and hope to see you next time. Goodbye.